An Introduction to Chapter 9, Innovations in Global Supply Networks.
What are global supply chains and how are they related to sustainability?
A supply network is a system for a specific industrial sector that makes clear the relation between organizations and the way they organize the exchange of materials, information, and money. There are more ways to make them sustainable. For instance, a new reverse logistics system can be implemented to make the products recyclable. Another example would be the improvement of working conditions for employees in developing countries by placing extra demands on the suppliers.
Which stakeholders are essential for the sustainability of global supply networks?
Making supply networks more sustainable is rather complex because various companies in various countries are involved. We see that it is hard to achieve sustainability when the initiative is left to the companies alone. For that, the external stakeholders are important. Think, for example, of the government and non-governmental organizations. It can happen that a global supply chain is sustained by the influence of an NGO. A prime example is the sustainability of the tuna fishing industry. In 2017, Greenpeace reached an agreement with the multinational Thai Union. Thai Union is one of the world's largest fish processors and owns several major brands. Greenpeace had lobbied for years for this deal and eventually succeeded. Apart from NGOs, governments are also very important. They have a decisive role in regulation. A good example are the tighter laws governing diesel emissions in the European Union. This legislation has had an enormous impact because automakers worldwide know that their new vehicles must meet the required standard.
To what degree is increased sustainability dependent on the companies themselves?
Companies play an important role because there's little global regulation. One of the reasons why governments don't make new legislation on sustainability is the non-participating free rider. The aircraft sector is a good example. This sector can only take a step forward if a substantial number of all countries in the world work together. The free rider dilemma prevents individual European countries from taxing the kerosene used for aircraft. In this case, non-participating countries are the free riders and benefit from the kerosene sold to the airlines. Because there is little international legislation, the free rider dilemma plays out in many sectors. The consequence is that sustainability of the supply chain becomes a matter for the individual companies involved. It's often the case that small companies are the first to take the bull by the horns. They sell their product in niche markets and take up the challenge. Examples are initiatives in the field of fair trade, sustainable tourism, and ecological food. But to make a substantial part of trade sustainable, it is important also that the mainstream industries are involved. Examples of this are Unilever and H&M. These types of large companies are also called focal companies. They use their market power to make their own supply chains more sustainable.
What are important challenges that would make, for example, the H&M supply chain more sustainable?
As a focal company, H&M has to deal with social and environmental issues, both up and downstream. The Upstream Factor refers to the two policies needed for an international concern which produces clothing in developing countries, labor conditions in sweatshops and agricultural companies, and eco-friendly material. To realize this, H&M will ask its suppliers to implement new policies. This will only be possible if they are open to change. It is mostly about whether the suppliers want to invest in a different corporate culture and new working methods. For H&M, it is important to see which of the suppliers are really open to this. A number of suppliers can then be selected with which to reach agreements on new materials and new working methods. In addition, H&M also has challenges downstream. This could include a good program of reverse logistics, so that clothing previously sold to customers could find a second life back in the supply chain.